that in Tsinghua, not even one student showed up last year in the architecture school. I mean, I don't know if that is true. That's the mistake. Harvard is still living in the Stone Age. I cannot stand it anymore, so nobody can change the change. That no AI can replace it. Change because they're better. No. Students come out and they are kind of like stuck. They're just hitting a wall. That's the punchline of the graduation, right?
But I have a question when the graduate students are going to the job market. So what kind of challenges they were facing? For example, like a lot of job were taken over by the AI.
Sure. See, the problem is that we are still in the old paradigm. So the world is changing. AI is becoming this thing, but the education that they got in the last 3-4 years is still the old one. So when they come out, they're still not ready. So we would see the adjusted changes to happen the next year or two, okay? So at this point, for example, students come out and they are kind of like stuck, not stuck, but they were educated in the what we call computer-aided, parametric VR gaming kind of world, which was very important for 2 years ago. But now things change. AI comes in that replaces the gaming, replaces the coding, replaces a lot of things that we didn't know, right? Now that we know, we are preparing them for that kind of thing, right? So the students that come out, they have to adjust easily, and they do. Again, there is a little bit of a problem at some areas that are much more heavily replaced by AI, but we think, and that's just my ideology, and that's my hope, that's what I teach, is that I think that we should make the students capable of being able to make AI, not to use AI, to make AI. Making AI is different from using AI. It's like a game. You play a game is not the same as making a game. When you play a game, you're just a loser. You're just basically following the rules of the system, right? And you're always looking for the next game. But when you're making a game, you have to think differently. You don't even know if it's a game when you start. You start with something that is abstract, and you think about rules, you think about regulations, opponents, blah, 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 game theory, and all of a sudden, you come up with a game, and then you modify it, and then you have to have players to work with you. Same with AI. AI is almost a game, because it has this, in the same way that a game, you can use AI, but again, that's like playing a game. Using AI, it's okay, yeah, it makes me look as if I'm smart. But I'm not, because the AI does everything. I just do it fast, and I think that I did it, but I didn't. But when you make AI, when you make the software, you realize that's a whole different story. When you look into a neural network, it's not that complicated. And you realize that there's something inside there that is very, very important and very, very intricate that actually produces this sort of logic. And that thing could be used in many different ways to produce different systems and different apps that actually would be the most important job that you can do, that no AI can replace it, because you're making AI. AI cannot replace the makers of AI. It can replace the users of AI. That for sure. So if the students are educated into making AI systems or parts of systems or apps or whatever systems that are related to AI, then they're never going to find a job, because they're going to be part of the change. So nobody can change the change. You can change the things that are being to be changed, but not the change itself. So that is what we're teaching them, and that's what the AI design program is going to be in the next year. I mean, it's starting this September, actually. Sustainability started last year. That's the new design, masters of design that we have, and that's important thing. So yeah, there is a discrepancy between, it's like a wave that it goes, and some people who are under the wave get crushed, but some people are ahead, they don't get crushed. So it depends on where you are and how fast you are in avoiding the wave that is coming. Or if you're on the top of the wave, that is the winner, because nobody will ever keep you. You don't even know there's a wave, because you're going together with the wave, right? So that's what I want them to be. I don't want them to be under. I don't want them to be front, the back. I want them to be at the top, like surfing the wave. That's the best way to.
So how the students can see and perceive that they are on the wave, they're on the top, as they will not falling down?
Because the thing they do is not replaceable. You cannot be replaced by it. When I make AI, how can AI replace me? I'm making it, right? I'm making the game. Let's say, take the paradigm of the game, right? You're making a video game, right? You're the one who makes it. And you have a lot of players. The players are waiting for the next thing. They say, oh, can you do this for me? And you do that for them, right? And then you change it something, or you stop the game. Everybody goes devastated, right? You're in control of the game. So you realize that I am the one. I am the leader. You don't need to be told. It's obvious if you make AI or if you make the game, you are the one who controls the destiny of it. So you know it. You don't have to be told so. It's obvious that you're on the top of the wave.
And then you can iterate it.
Yeah, and then you can do it on different, yeah, of course. It's not one AI. There are many different, AI is just a general concept. It could be different directions and different types of games, different types of AI. Of course, each one has its own value. So I think the students here have no problem. They're going to find jobs, and they're going to be capable of addressing. Again, part of the whole education is to have them be able to control their future without us being there, right? It's like a parent, right? You're not there all the time. You have to teach the kids how to know how to survive into the world, right? So you give them the skills for survival. Okay, some will do, some will not, but the skill is what you need. Okay, like the fishing paradigm, right? You don't give them fish to eat. You give them, they learn them how to fish. Now, some people may not know how to fish well. Some people fish very well, but eventually fishing is something that will keep you alive forever. But eating fish, it's like playing a game, right? You're always going to be waiting for somebody to give you a fish to eat. But learning how to fish is a skill. And that skill has nothing to do with a fish sometimes. I mean, a hook. Who thought about a hook? It has nothing to do with a fish, right? You don't think of a fish to catch a fish. You think of other techniques, logic, things, and then all of a sudden you come up with a net, with a hook, with something that actually catches fish, right? So that's how you have to think. You have to think, how do I make these things? Not necessarily by looking at the objective. Somehow you have to be broad enough to think of all different possibilities and combine them together in order to come up with something that eventually becomes the tool. Okay, tool making is very different from tool using. Okay, and we're tool makers.
So any students are very impressive when they're in your class or any project that they made. So any individual students are you're very impressive.
Yeah, you also probably remember we have a lot of students like they say things that we never ever thought is like fantastic ideas. They do fantastic projects that we never ever thought. So a lot of them have become pretty famous, and they do a lot of things. And they work for companies. Other people become professors. I have 3 PhD students, which are working on AI systems. I think they're not going to have any problem finding a job or working in the industry. So yeah, I cannot predict the future, but so far I've seen some very good indications. We're hopeful. Okay.
So do you have some suggestions for the College of Architecture of Urban Planning?
My problem with not CUP is a good school. Okay, don't take me wrong. I'm talking about architecture, the field of architecture. Somehow, and I was in that field because my first degree was architecture when I was undergraduate. And I loved architecture because it was a very interesting field. It's a combination of art and engineering. You have like buildings, structures, blah, blah, blah. But at some point, architecture is not about building. It's about structure. And structure is an abstract entity. It's something you think in your mind, like even a plot or a story is a structure. And there's an architecture into it, but it's not a building. So what the architects have misunderstood is that it always have to lead towards a physical building. And they have somehow idolized the idea of building. So in the process of idolizing buildings, they have made gods the practitioners. So these big architects, from Frank Gehry, Libeskind, like all these big shots that are supposed to be the best architects in the world, which is true. But unfortunately, that is not what architecture is. I mean, alone. It is more than that. And that is where the mistake is. They never were flexible enough to change from being building-oriented into being structure-oriented, like abstract structure-oriented. So they could have been open to many, many things that are structural, such as, like I said before, tool making, right? It's not the building, it's how we make the building. Or gaming. Gaming is full of architectural elements inside of it, but the designers, the architects say, no, it's not a building, right? And then, of course, you have AI and VR. They lost it completely. They have no idea what AI is because they never built up that kind of thing. And the problem was that at some point, it was so rigid as a structure and so oriented towards buildings that the people who wanted to not do building, they just left. Or some of them were just taken into other schools that became the future architecture. And the classic paradigm is, that example, that you can use is the Media Lab. The Media Lab was basically an architecture spin-off, because in the architecture school, they wanted to do buildings. Fine. And then Raponte, whatever this professor said, why don't we make another school where we could do whatever, all the things that architects don't want to do. And they created the Media Lab, which is much more successful than the architecture school. And I'm glad to say that here in Tongji, the same thing exactly happened. Kaup was the school that was doing only building. And rightfully so, because this is the most construction country in the world, right? It was the whole, China was going to be under construction. So Kaup was the most powerful school. Of course, everybody was interested in making buildings, right? Skyscrapers, buildings, parks, urban cities. Fantastic. But there was a part of the people who are interested in other things. CAD, parametric, design in general, gaming, VR, AI, right? And these people were not following the paradigm and the example of the Kaup. So then, 2008, the dean of the school back then, Wu, I think was what he said, no problem, we'll make another school. So they found this place here, which was basically an old garage, like some weird building somewhere outside, not even the campus. And he said, let's make it this. So Lo came in and he made it into what we see right here. All this stuff you see here is because of Lo, right? He made this into a school. And it was basically a bus stop, a bus garage here, yeah. And across the street was a parking lot. And the parking lot became a school. Okay, so all of a sudden, all these people who were in the architecture school found a place to work, right? So now we have all these areas, right? Which is design, industrial design, AI design, service design, environmental interaction, all these kind of things happen here in this school. Because that is and this is the most successful school right now, which, as we said earlier, we're having now 3 more buildings, There's a design square, we have this building here, and we have the big 17-floor building that we just finished, right, a few months ago. And that is going to be all occupied by us. So, what else can you need from? So that actually, Kaup can change any moment. We can come back to Kaup. Why not? Or they can come to us. Either way, I don't care. As long as they change their mind, as long as they basically stop idolizing the practitioners. The practitioners have their own offices, they do their own jobs, they do their own buildings, that's fine. But they don't have to be professors. That's the mistake. Why do you need to make Frank Gehry a professor? He's not a professor, but he likes that. The schools like it, they bring the guy in, the guy takes over, gets some sort of tenure, and then all of a sudden, you cannot move anything because they're interested in their own job, which is basically to make buildings, right? So everything is now about making buildings, and nobody moves. So all the people who want to do something else, they're just hitting a wall, right? Until Negroponde and, of course, Lo comes in and makes us another school. And then they lose, because now I heard that in Tsinghua, not even one student showed up last year in the architecture school. I don't know if that is true. I heard that as a rumor, but there is basically very low numbers of students that want to enter architecture schools because somehow it's all about buildings. And when the economy doesn't go back, good. But in the design school, on the other hand, there's never any lack of business because we're always doing something, right? If it's not environmental, it will be interactive. And if it's not interactive, it would be AI. And if it's not AI, it would be something else. So it's always like moving around, and everybody needs us. So then we actually, that's why I'm in a design school. I left the architecture because I could not stand it anymore. I like structures, abstract structures, ideological structures, gaming structures, AI structures, not buildings per se. So, thank you. That was a good thing.
This conversation will make that the College of Architecture Urban Planning will not very happy.
No, they're very happy because they can change. I'm not telling them there's something they cannot change. They could, any moment, they can change. They can open themselves up and do things. I mean, it's not like I'm condemning them. I mean, they're doing it to themselves. And that is not, I was telling the people in Harvard and in UCLA, change, do other things. No. Change because they're better. No. Well, they lost. But any moment they can change. I mean, the world is still open. They can become open-minded again. I mean,
Even Harvard not change a lot.
no, Harvard is still living in the, I don't know, the Stone Age, really. I mean, really, literally. Stone Age as in like buildings. I mean, they don't even know what CAD is. They don't know what gaming is. They don't know what VR is. They just get, once in a while, get a professor that actually teaches something as a secondary, kind of like a supporting professor. And then they go, well, they don't really know. AI, they have no idea what the AI exists anymore. They just hear it. They hear about it. They bring somebody to say, okay, this is what AI is. They talk a little bit, that's it. They definitely have no idea what technology is in Harvard. It's completely like progressive in that area. They're very good in design, in building and urban planning and landscape, for sure. But when it comes to progressive ideas, when it comes to AI and things that are towards the future, no. MIT, yes. MIT, of course, not the architecture school. MIT General, the Media Lab, blah, blah, blah. These are very good schools that look into the future and they try to do things that are innovative. Architectures, I'm sorry, the architects, unfortunately, they don't get it. They just still live in the past. But that's okay. I mean, that's their choice. I mean, I just telling what I believe, which is not necessarily what is true. They may have their own opinion, okay?
They're too far away from Silicon Valley.
Yeah, Silicon Valley has nothing to do with it. They would never invest into Harvard for technology, for sure. I can tell you that. It would be like, only for PR, but not for technology. Definitely, there's nobody there who has any technological skills, unfortunately.
Any other thing you want to talk? I think.
No, we just talk about the graduation. I mean, that was the whole thing. I mean, at the end of the day, the students have to find their own way, and the schools have to find their own way, and the professors have to find their own ways. Everybody's searching for the best thing for themselves, okay? Where there's no golden rule. There's no, like, target. You're always looking for something, and you try to find the best thing. And every time you find something else, you change and you adjust to the new situation, okay? And that's what I was telling at the final part of the graduation talk is that, embrace the future, right? The future is yours. Once you have the good education, there's nothing you cannot do. Go and face the world and actually win, conquer the world, right? That's the thing. But again, as I said, at the final word is that if you want to go to Harvard, go, no problem. If you have the money and the time to go there, go. But then, please come back. I think China is the best. I mean, my opinion so far is that this is the best place to be from every point of view, from the education, from the living life condition, the security, the social norms, the happiness. Again, it's a place where you can be happy because I guess, as I said, I think in another interview, it's not perfect. And that makes you happy. Because everything around you is ready for you to fix them, to make it better. And that is why, so in AI or in architecture or in design, yeah, come back to China, because China has all the social structure and the potential and the imperfection and the freedom to actually go and do things and actually embrace the future and make it better. So that is my advice. I mean, yeah, you can go there and find all the good things that America has and Europe has. Fine, there are good things there too. But as a Chinese, go back. I mean, that is your country. You own it to your country. You did the Gaokao here. So why don't you come back and prove it that you're so good as the Gaokao said, right? So that is basically my advice to these people. And I mean it from the heart. I'm not making up things. This is like the part that I'm honest about it. I think that China is the place for them to come back and prove themselves here and bring back the knowledge they find in other places and adjust it and make it here to make China a better place. I mean, that is my advice to that. That's the punchline of the graduation, right? Using the word punchline, right? Okay.